Well, welcome everybody to the Jane Live Miracle Medicine Thursday webinar. And I'm very pleased to be talking today about a fascinating subject and a very earthly subject, but also a very cosmic subject, and that is of minerals, metal minerals in particular. I've got a live case study to show you where we see things like, for example, where there's a low copper level, the coexisting other mineral metals or plain minerals even, that will also be low. And so you can start building a picture, and then of course a disease would manifest, or diseases would manifest as a result of low or too high mineral content. And nearly every single disease is linked to a mineral too high or too low in some way, and the metal minerals as well. So we're going to be focusing on that and looking at the evolution of ourselves and the earth, because these minerals are recycled. And the more they're recycled each life that we live, the higher their vibration. That goes back into the soil and assists the earth in its own manifestation and evolution. So very, very important is this whole mineral cycle. And I'll talk also about, the availability of metals and minerals, direct alignment of the planets, the mineral association of the planets. And I'll talk a little bit more about, the moon is related to silver and so on. And Errol's going to talk also about diseases that are present and prevalent in the astrological alignment of people in their natal chart, similarly to Carl Jung, who did the natal chart of all his patients before he saw them. And this information only came out after he died, because I think people would have shut him down. But he did the natal chart of all his patients before he saw them. We have this facility on our quantum devices where we do the biorhythm. But I know also from personal experience and having my natal chart read by Errol, invaluable information comes through. For example, it could be kidney, it could be lung. So Errol, I want to take an opportunity to really warmly welcome you this evening. It's always a huge honor to have you, and thank you for always so willingly and joyfully and lovingly sharing your unbelievable astrological soul astrology with us. So Errol, let's talk a bit then about the planetary alignments, minerals, and people and healing and how it plays out in their lifetime. Over to you.
Right. Well, I mean, all its characteristics and expressions, and even its deeper purpose. Mars is the planet that governs iron. So iron, very important. In fact, quite a few doctors on YouTube talk about how so many people lack the appropriate amount of iron in their system because of today, because of chemicals and fertilizers and pesticides, that the iron content of the food we eat is too low, and many people, including us, take iron supplements. So Mars is a planet of iron. It governs the red blood cells.
Yeah.
And iron, of course, stimulates and activates the red blood cells. And Mars is the energy of, so it's masculine energy, it's fire energy, it's passion, it's desire, it's sexuality, it's forward-moving thinking, forward-moving action. It's the archetypal masculine planet at the best sense and of course, the worst sense too. It's also the god of battle and war. So Mars is just on the 25th of this month moved into Aries, which is a masculine fire sign, and so Mars rules Aries. So when Mars comes into Aries at 25th of this month and stays till about the 6th of July, you have this a period of time where there's a lot of Martian energy that's being activated in people and in nations, etc. And it also stimulates the iron in the body. and people get very active, very stimulated. It activates a lot of sexual energy, a lot of sexual desire in people, which itself stimulates iron, stimulates the red blood cells.
Circulation.
And the circulation, of course, yes, which we take. So this Mars in Aries will now activate people a lot, and it's the perfect transit for what might be called pioneers and initiators to step forward and start doing things which initiate and activate and pioneer in the future. And this will happen. You'll see all around the planet people who might be called pioneers and initiators stepping forward, initiating new activity, new projects. We're doing that, of course, as you know, you, me, and me.
On June, that's the one on the June the 12th that most people know about. Yeah.
And that's very much an initiating project. It's a pioneering initiating project. So very Mars in Aries. And for people who wish to step into the present, step into the future, and do things which are connected with the present future, not with the past. So it's like doing something new and different, and that has not been done in the past. And that's also Martian energy. It's like stepping forward, being brave, being courageous, being a warrior, and so on. So that also stimulates iron in the body. So that's how you get the planets, which all govern certain minerals, like Saturn governs lead, and all the different planets have their different minerals which they stimulate.
So there's a really defined interrelationship between the Earth, the planets, the sun that's circulating on a daily basis, and the influence that they have on the metals, not only in the earth but in ourselves as well. And and then if we're missing certain of the minerals, there were, if I'm right, Errol, we would, let's say we're low in copper, right? Venus and copper.
More natural copper than men, because Venus is a feminine sign which governs women. So if you want to get lots of copper, fall in love. There you are. That's a nice thing. Or get sensual.
Errol?
Because it's interesting. You see, Venus is sensuality and Mars is sexuality. There's a difference between men and women. Men are stimulated by sexuality and women by sensuality. And that activates iron for Mars and copper for Venus.
Well, Errol, I mean, this is so amazing, because if you don't have copper, you're not going to be able to absorb iron. So, the yin and the yang, what you're speaking about right now, totally linked to each other, because if the iron is out of alignment, you'll get those blood disorders, which can lead to typhoid type diseases, but which are also corrected by copper, believe it or not. So
That's interesting, because when a man and a woman are relating intimately, if we looked at it from a mineral point of view, the woman's copper is moving into the man, the man's iron is moving into her, and they are helping one another to absorb those two minerals.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another way to look at relationship. It's like, I'm short of iron. I better find myself a man.
Find someone that's full of iron. That's very interesting, but you never know. We don't really know. There's too much we don't really know about all of this. And, it goes a bit deeper, because sometimes when the planet is blocked by the Earth is when you get the big healing as well. So you would get, I think if the Venus is blocked by the Earth, might get a lot of copper activation at that particular time. I know Rudolf Steiner used a lot of, and in the anthroposophical medicines, they use a lot of.
When they qualify, I actually said a physician who is not an astrologer is not a physician.
That's very interesting.
I doubt if much doctors have ever even read that statement or don't agree with it. But that's what Hippocrates said. a physician who's not an astrologer is not a physician.
That's really amazing. And then also where you can see, let's say, for example, somebody in their chart, because from a health point of view and a alignment point of view, let's say you see the kidneys they've come in with a kidney misalignment for whatever reasons. You do see that in the natal chart, don't you?
Well, not really, because medical astrology is a specific, particular science, and there are some astrologers, a few, not many, but some who actually specialize in medical astrology. I haven't heard any doctors that specialize in medical astrology, but I do know an actual a religious Jewish woman who is a doctor and a homeopath who is actually studying astrology to link to her medical profession. So there might be some, but there are very few. But no, I don't particularly do it myself in terms of that. I mean, I could look at it, but I don't, because it would take, if I looked at it for the person's chart reading, it would take me another hour to be able to explain that. And in the end result, it doesn't really help that much, because in the end result, if the person doesn't change their diet, the person doesn't live correctly, the person doesn't think correctly, no matter what you tell them, it's not going to help much unless they change their life fundamentally. And I think it's, when someone is living correctly or thinking correctly or eating correctly and so on, then you can guarantee that to whatever extent, good extent, not perfect extent, but good extent, they are absorbing the right minerals, the right vitamins, and so on.
So on our quantum device, which I need to show you one day, the quantum skio eductor, the QUEX, there is a natural glass half empty, and the lymphatic system, and it'll give us even days to be careful of, and foods to eat and so on. So we have actually got the very, very scientific advanced software that works on the people, that gives us that result, the information you're speaking about right now.
Yeah. It's good. Yeah, that's great. All these things have to be used. These particular things all have to be added and used.
I think so.
As you and me were sharing a couple of weeks ago, we had that conversation. We were sharing how no matter what you tell people, or I tell people, or Candace tells people, or Amy tells people when you do our work, and we were sharing that unless people live that on their day-to-day lives and put that into action, then of course, no matter what we tell them or try to help them with, it's not going to help much. They've got to do the work. Remember, we talked about people have to do 90% of the work. Yeah. And if people don't do it, then there's nothing we can do, can we? We can't do anything to force people to change their lives in that way. So everyone just has to do it on a day-to-day basis in their own way. We have our own compost heap, which we create a very, very good compost, very, very good compost. So we use our compost heap for all our vegetables that we grow, all our herbs that we grow, etc. And everyone should have a compost heap.
Definitely, Errol, because this is the one fundamental problem in our food today. It's mineral deficient. And as I said earlier, nearly every single disease is related to many mineral deficiencies, not only one. And it's going to continue because of the factory farming, the monocrops, the year after year, the same crop in the same soil. And then we're eating, mineral deficient, depleted foods where the minerals in the plant is out of alignment. And what Errol's saying is with the composting, you can add beautiful things like volcanic rock dust, which is just an array of minerals. And you can add kelp, you can add spirulina, you can add almost gold, you can add seawater. And all of these minerals and salts and precious metals will get absorbed by the plant, which leads me to the bone, will deposit in the body. But if you get calcium from kelp or, moringa or spirulina, that calcium is far more bioavailable and it won't deposit in the body. It will be used in the right way for the bones and so on. It's alkalinizing. So the reason I'm saying that is because in our composts, we need to have top quantities of minerals in order to grow balanced plants.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, this is a science which, I mean, everyone should know that, because they can know. It's not difficult, and everyone should have a compost heap in their garden. I mean, not just the compost heap for the compost heap's sake, as we're talking about, but of course, if you're just chucking away your food into your rubbish bin, and of course it just goes into the earth in a way which is not doing anything good for anyone. You're chucking away your food, you're wasting your food, including lots of good food that of course should go into the compost heap. So the whole thing is just bad. And
you're not remineralizing the earth, you see. So in the same way, what Errol is I'm just confirming what he's saying. Rather than throw your orange peels or your carrots ends or carrot tops or whatever, don't throw them into the main rubbish, because that's got another. In fact, I've got 3 dustbins, and one is the main collection dustbin, but there's nothing in there. The other one is the plastic, the metal, the glass, and then the other one is the compost bin. So there's 3. So the plastic and the glass and metal and so on are recycled, collected to recycle, and then the compost one is going back, because we have a responsibility, Errol, to put the minerals back in the earth. If we don't do that, the earth is not going to be able to evolve, and nor will we, because we come from the minerals in the earth and we put them back in the earth when we die. And if we don't actually bury those ashes down, enable humanity to evolve. And
hundreds of millions, billions of people could do that and should do that, and there's nothing to stop them from doing it except just basic laziness. They should all have their proper compost heaps. They should all grow as much as possible of their organic produce in their gardens. We've got a beautiful organic lemon tree in our garden, and we've got all our organic lemons. We've got about 60 lemons in our tree at the moment. And, lemons is, one of the greatest of all the fruits. You get the highest concentration of vitamin C in lemons. I always say to African people who don't know about these things, it really saddens us that if you drink water from a tap, it's dead water. It's not actually water. It's just dead, sort of like seeming water. And if you put lemon juice in it, it makes a complete difference to the fact that you're drinking something.
That's right. It gives it structure and it gives it a charge so that we can absorb it. Because many people drink liters of water a day, but they're dehydrated because they're not. There's no charge in, as Errol says, in tap water. There's no charge. It's dead. So what it does is it pulls the minerals out of our body. We excrete them all.
Yeah. So people you just take lemon juice, get organic lemons if you can, of course, and you always put lemon juice in your water, and at least that stimulates it and activates electrodes, and then you're drinking something which at least is doing something for you rather than just dehydrating you. And so few people, I don't know what, I use it in terms of what people know, but so few people know that or are told about that. It hurts me tremendously when I see how many black people don't know anything about that and haven't been told anything about that. Such a simple thing. And they're always so happy when we tell them that.
And I think it's also a world over problem, really. People don't even know. They think that, fruit and vegetable come from the supermarket. But that's another story, What I wanted to also just speak about with Errol here from a Rudolf Steiner point of view. If there's a head ailment, you need to eat the root of a plant. You need to eat the ginseng, the ashwagandha, the root of more chest and lungs and heart. Then we need to eat the leafy vegetables, the lettuces, and actually broccoli. Broccoli even looks like a lung. So those plants will contain the metals and the minerals that are necessary for those kind of ailments. Obviously, you want to eat a cross-section of all, but interesting to note that the head of the plant is in the sand where all the minerals are. And then So if you want to, if the brain is fatigued and all of that, that's why we give ginseng root.
Yeah. Yeah, because Candace Goldstein, as you know Candace, she actually grows all her organic vegetables according to the Steiner method.
Yes, me too.
And so she's got the astrological chart for when you grow your root vegetables or when you grow your leaf vegetables, etc. And she does that all the time.
We do that too. That's the biodynamic calendar. And that will help you to grow plants that are really strong. When, again, you see there's an integration between the soil, the plants, the animals, ourselves, and the cosmos. And when those planets are in alignment, it will tell us, look, do things under the soil, dig under the soil for this next 24-hour period, for example, or it'll tell you to harvest, go and pick the fruit, or pick the leaves, or plant the leaves, and then you get really, really strong plants with loads of life force, because all of this amounts to life force. When you get those straggly plants where the stem's not strong and everything, they were planted at the wrong time, usually, apart from the nourishment in the soil. But all of this boils down to is life.
It's a star, and it gives us the entire solar system and everything in the solar system, pure life force.
Yeah.
So people often focus upon the vitamin D, which the body transforms the life force from the sun into vitamin D. And the only vitamin which every single one of the 50 trillion cells in the human body absolutely needs is vitamin D, because it contains the life force. But the actual light of the sun, of the rays of the sun, never mind vitamin D, is actually the life force which comes into our system, and why everyone needs to have at least 20 minutes to half an hour in the sun every day to get the life force into their bodies, and then of course that's converted to vitamin D and goes to all the cells.
You're talking about the photons. Photon is the highest vibrational energy, and the body is completely sensitive to the various light waves and the different wavelengths of the light that makes up the sunlight, the visible and the invisible, and it will absorb what it needs. The same way as when you stand on the earth, you will absorb the electrons that you need to a point. You won't absorb more. In the sunlight, what Errol's saying, your daily dose of 30 minutes in the sun, you will absorb those rays which are healing. And I, in fact, know somebody who did heal themselves with the sun. They were in a ball, they couldn't get out of their bed, and they spent an amount of time every day in the sun. And in 1 year, they were completely healed. And it was a chronic illness.
Yeah. I mean, there's an interesting story about, in the Crimean War, when huge numbers of British soldiers were, of course, injured. And you can imagine the horrible injury. They always used to keep the soldiers closed in buildings where there was no light and no fresh air. And they all used to, of course, huge numbers of them used to die from their wounds because of that. And then Florence Nightingale, our lovely great heroine, said to the medical staff, who were all, the medical staff are largely men and totally stupid, as most men are, of course. That's a joke, but it's not a joke. They insisted, the male doctors, that they keep these wounded soldiers in the dark, buildings. And she insisted that, how important nutrition was, which even in those days the medical profession had no interest in whatsoever, and hardly has an interest in today either.
Absolutely.
So, so it's just like one person, Frances Nightingale, did that. If it wasn't for her, it wouldn't have happened. So this is the good thing of this Mars and Aries.
Yes.
That one person can initiate something which can change, as we know from our Nelson Mandela, which can change our whole country, our whole city, if they just initiate something which is right and stick to it, and maybe have a small group of people which, of course, help that energy to focus. They can change anything.
And I think this is what we're leading up to on the 12th of June. So Errol's saying to us, watch out now, watch out for the pioneers appearing, the goats, as he sometimes call them, because these are going to be the new initiation paradigms, if you like. And Errol, we're looking forward to the 12th, because that's when we're going to see the total integration of the yin, the yang, the male, the female, the Mars, the Venus, and more and more and more. Just remind us what you've got in store for us on the 12th, Errol.
Well, I've shared lots of this stuff with people. I mean, Amy and myself have been doing this work for 40 years, and I don't say it with any ego. And one of the things we find most difficult to get through to people, it seems simple. I mean, you hear it, it seems to be simple. It's like 1 and 1 equals 2. But actually, it's quite difficult to get through to people that this is like so important. We are moving into the age of Aquarius, as we know, and we're moving out of the age of Pisces. And the energy of Pisces is being withdrawn, because every astrological archetype is actually a cosmic spirit, although people don't realize it's not just a king or some energy, it's a cosmic spirit.
Right.
And the cosmic spirit of Pisces is withdrawing its energy back to itself, because its cycle is coming to a close, 2,000-year cycle. And that's why everything that's connected to Pisces, consciousness, structures, forms, politics, economics, etc., man, woman, marriages, families, etc., is collapsing, dissolving and collapsing. Because if you withdraw energy away from something, there's no foundation left, so things start to collapse. But at the same time that's happening, and it can't penetrate through individuals. Individuals' energy systems will just get blown if Aquarius energy comes into it. It has to have a group chalice in order to come in.
Interesting.
And usually that group chalice should be at least, when the Christ said, when 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there I am. He was trying to say, you've got to have a group to get Christ consciousness. It can't just come to individual, because it's too powerful, Christ consciousness. And Aquarius energy is even more potent Christ consciousness, because Christ consciousness has 12 expressions, of which Aquarius is the most accelerated, intensified expression. So when you've got a group chalice, the energy of Aquarius starts coming into the group chalice and initiating a group into Aquarius energy, which is totally different to what can happen if you're only an individual.
And Errol, what even added to this right now are these 3 full sun moons, ending in the Gemini one, with this whole period of initiation that we're going to be looking at and discussing. And I think in many instances, individually and collectively, looking at our purpose and why we're here, and looking at ourselves as aspiring to fully integrated human beings, the masculine and the feminine, and our inner and outward expression of this. Am I right?
Yeah, because you see, once the energy starts coming into a group, or whatever the group may be, the group may be 5, the group may be 7, the group may be 20, the group may be 40, and then once it comes into the group, it activates the group, and you start being initiated into Aquarius energy. Until that time, you can't be initiated into Aquarius energy. You can be manifesting Pisces energy or whatever, but you can't be manifesting Aquarius energy, because you're not receiving it, because you've got to have a chalice to receive that energy. Then when that happens, the entire group gets super stimulated, and its energy starts to be activated, and the energy centers start to be activated, and its creativity starts to be activated. And each individual then gets super stimulated in terms of what they can contribute, their quality, their creativity.
That's it. So we're actually going to be hearing about Aquarius energy from an Aquarian, and then also from, from Imogen, who's going to be bringing in a lot of the feminine aspects to the creativity and shifting in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, everyone there will just when you go around the circle with the group energy in the right, facilitated in the right way, everyone starts bringing forth aspects of themselves which are more powerful, more dynamic, more creative, more love, for example, more light, for example, and so on, than before. And people are always surprised by that. It's like how come it happened? Well, because you're working in a group, and because the spirit of Aquarius can then pour its energy into the group. Because the moment a group forms with creating a conscious chalice, automatically the group soul, not an individual soul, as with an individual, but the group soul now becomes aware of the group and starts channeling its group and its group soul energy through the group, which is a totally different experience to an individual doing any particular work. And that's why and then if you do it around the full moon cycles of the zodiac, which is even more powerful, then you get the 12 inputs of the 12 archetypes over the astrological year. That even makes it more powerful.
Especially when we move to Cancer and the actual manifestation of our planning and ideas and imagination and.
Yes, I mean, once that happens, then, once people are working on getting group formation once a month, then they really are working with Aquarius energy.
Lovely.
And with New Age energy. But before they do that, they're not working with that energy. And lots of people who are doing, good individual creative work, whatever they're doing, do not realize that they're not working with not working with
well, Errol,
working in group formation.
Exactly, and we're going to hear all about this and more from Errol, Imogen, myself. I really look forward to having the Johannesburg and surrounds people physically at my home, where we can do all this creative work, and then at the same that day we're going to be going from 10 until about 4, and we're going to have a lovely, delicious vegan, vegetarian, organic meal, and we will have you with us too. So don't feel, in any way that, you're going to miss out on this awesome Aquarius energy, the Gemini full sun moon. And, for me, an integrated human, it's just got to be it's something that I am really looking to achieve this lifetime. And I'm sure there are many other people too. And we're going to be sharing also, Errol, in people's gifts, because some people have a sun sign Libra, a rising star Gemini, and so on. And each person will be bringing in their talents, their skills, their minerals, their metals. And so we'll be able to, as you say, form a beautiful collective group of people.
Yeah, I mean, that's why Jesus had 12 disciples. That's why Socrates had 12 disciples. All the initiates down the ages, if you study their lives, they all had 12 disciples.
Okay, interesting.
Because that's the group chalice they created, with each one representing a sign of the zodiac. And that's why their influence was so powerful throughout history. Margaret Mead, the great American anthropologist, said that every single major change in history has been done by a small group of people.
Wow.
Because how else could change occur except to a small group of people, So it's that simple. If everywhere around the planet people said, let's form our Aquarius core groups, whether there were 5, 7, 9, 12 people, because that's the numbers you should have, either 3, 5, 7, 9, or 12, and eventually 12, and started working regularly in group formation, the amount of power and influence they would have is literally 100 times more than if they were just individuals working by themselves. It's so simple.
Well, we've got everything set up. So what are we waiting for? I can't wait. I think it's going to be absolutely magnificent. And Errol, as you were saying, so that people that come into the sphere and they have registered, you will get a replay. So, Errol, I don't want to keep you too much longer, and I want to thank you a lot for giving up your time again and, shedding light on a very important aspect, because without the minerals, our light doesn't go on, and none of what we're talking about is going to happen. So the same way a light bulb needs copper, we also need copper and mineral and gold and silver and nickel and cobalt, so that we can do our manifestation. So we'll, we can look a lot at the plants and things that contain all these beautiful minerals too, and there'll be an array of food where the plant has carefully rearranged these minerals and metals for human, to get it into our cell naturally.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you think of a group, like say, the cult was talking about, we're very fortunate in our group here, and you and your sort of group of people, because we have one or two people who are very involved with organic produce, like Candace and Claire, etc. You, of course, are involved, and other people. And if you have a group and just one person is focusing upon that whole aspect of, organic food and proper composting, etc., and then they help all the other people to do that, there's a good example of how a whole group of people get influenced so positively by one person doing something which helps them all. And all the rest of the people, of course, also helping everyone else, all of their stuff. And then if you think of all those groups forming around the world, thousands and thousands of them, and creating that light network of group chalices which the spirit of Aquarius can pour its energy into, that's how humanity will change.
Yeah. Organically, authentically, originally.
With lots of humor.
Lots of humor. Well, you're around. It's always good for that. So, Errol, thanks a million.
Yeah, great, darling. So we'll keep in contact, and thanks for tonight. It's been great.
No problem. So those of you who would like to come, please contact me. I'm going to show the advert a little bit later, or Errol on his email, which is on the advert anyway. And then we can start keeping a log of who's coming. Make sure you've got a seat and so on. Okay. Bye, Errol.
Great, darling. Bye.
Thank you so much.
See you tomorrow.
Okay. Bye. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to show you what I wanted to look at today in terms of more probably medical, scientific, biological, if you like, life force spectrum. The Earth and humanity, the metamorphosis. We're still with this theme of birth, death, and rejuvenation, and it's the revolving mineral cycle into the earth and out into life, back into the earth, out into life, and the extreme importance of the birth of a baby, a human, and then the manifestation throughout the life of that human. And as we're manifesting, we're raising the vibration of the mineral content of our body. And we're raising the life force in our body as well. And then that mineral goes back into the earth at a much higher vibrational state. And the earth can then evolve as a result of that. So we do have that responsibility. And I just wanted to really go through that again. We're going to go and have a look at this little mineral wheel, if you like. So this slide I've put together, there's a lot on this slide, but I think it's important that we have it all together. You can see let's just have a look at this mineral wheel, if you like, because we're getting not all, but we've got quite a lot of the important metals and minerals. There's silver, there's copper. Gold would be at a central point in any event. And you can see, let's just say calcium, if you follow the line, phosphorus is going to be affected. They're going to be interrelated to each other. So low calcium would relate to an out of alignment phosphorus level. Similarly, to do with sulfur. Similarly, to do with fluorine. Similarly, to do with zinc, magnesium, iodine, manganese. So I'm wanting to say to you here that minerals don't operate in isolation. And the importance of this is that don't run out and buy only zinc, because you're going to have a deficiency or excess in many other areas of your body. I'm saying rather eat a complete food where nature has already put the zinc, the phosphorus, the potassium, the iron, the sulfur in accordance with natural laws, in accordance with the right molecules, so that when your body consumes a nature-made product, its innate ability to absorb what it needs will kick in. And that's really the secret behind the 365 Healthy by Choice range, because I've put together loads of nature-made, plant-based, quantum-based, nutrient-dense foods and herbs and minerals, natural, to satisfy the needs of the body without having to take a bottle that's man-made, where somebody guessed the average levels of vitamin B12, B6, B5, C, vitamin K, vitamin D, etc. That's man-made. Most of them are synthetic as well. We are consuming a natural, nature-made food already in the divine proportion that the body needs to heal. Because remember, those plants will have entrapped sunlight, the entrapped photons in them as well. So it's all about a vibration. It's all about an electrical spin, and at the end of the day, achieving life force. And if we've got this high vibrational life force in us, physically, emotionally, neurologically, and spiritually, we're going to be in alignment and able to do our own evolution. So we have a responsibility to ourselves and groups, as Errol's speaking about, and the earth. And all of this is interlinked: soil, microbes, plants, animals, ourselves, and the cosmos. So I like that, because I like to work holistically and naturally. And this is serving as an example and a guide for us. And what I've got on this left-hand side is I've got actually a screenshot from one of the quantum devices I have, a mineral layout, and all the values here should be 100. All right, close, just a bit above or a bit below 100. And so you can see for this particular person, calcium's 114, potassium's 141. So none of these are exactly on 100. Sodium, chlorine, acid alkaline, so that would be a digestion story there anyway. But you can go, there's your iron, there's your sulfur, there's your manganese. Now you can start having a look on this wheel what the interactions are. And as we come all the way down, you will see copper and nickel and gold and silver. So if we took copper, for example, which is 52 out of 100, we move over here to copper, and we look over there, and we know that Venus is copper as well, and all the astrological directives we get from Venus, which is heart and love, feminine, is going to be here too. Now I want to state at this point here that every single cancer patient, especially breast cancer patient, is absolutely negative in the copper over here. I'm getting levels of minus 152, never mind 52. So now we're starting to see the relationship between the cosmos, the planets, the stars, the metal minerals, and disease. And so when we're starting to look at copper, we've got to think of this whole thing now in a very holistic way. So copper would be linked to zinc. So you can see zinc is low. Copper would be linked to sulfur, and there's sulfur over there, which is low. Copper would be linked to phosphorus over there. Copper would be linked to, what's the next one over here? Iron. And there's iron out of alignment. Copper would be linked to silver. Silver's out of alignment. Copper would be linked to cadmium. All right, we don't have cadmium on here. The right levels of cadmium are healthy, but too much cadmium is a heavy metal, which is dangerous. But in any event, so you can start having a look at this and seeing, where you are. If we did a mineral assessment here as a therapist and practitioner, we have a look at all this interconnectedness, and it's even much more deep and broad than what I'm just making up this mineral panel here. And then taking copper, we would look at nerves, energy, detoxification, and then linked to iron, which would be anemia, fatigue, oxygenation. And, you could add all the others in. Phosphorus would be cellular function, energy, thought. So energy is coming up a lot. And you can see the interrelationship now of the metal minerals and general minerals with disease, with the planets, and, out of alignment of humans. So Venus would be copper. Mercury or quicksilver would be the disease there. The ancients found that anything to do with syphilis, if people were given mercury, it fixed it. With typhoid, if they were given copper, it fixed it. Copper is very warming and very necessary. Then Jupiter would be linked to tin. So we have tin over there, 48. So something between tin and Jupiter, the planet, and the alignment of this body on Earth in the cosmic realm. And then Saturn would be lead, and we did talk about that a little bit earlier. So when you take, I don't know if lead is listed here, I can't remember. Maybe not specifically in this one. But it will be here. It should be here. Also not. Okay, well, obviously the lead's not showing up specifically. Mars would be the iron then, and the blood and the red blood cells and circulation. And it's linked to the copper, as I said. You've got to have copper for iron absorption, and you need some vitamins as well for that. Moon would be the silver. So people with labor pains, they found in the past that were given silver reduced the labor pains. So those are the ancients. They already had a real natural affinity for all of this. And as we said, the modern day health practitioners, doctors, etc., are not really taking any cognizant fact and drawing any holistic benefits from understanding the planets and the metal minerals. So it's just a lot bigger than we thought. And I just wanted to share a bit of this with you. We're just touching on it. We're just starting. I think my main point that I want to talk about is the danger of going out and buying a synthetic, man-made, put together minerals in a bottle, especially over a long period of time. For a month, I'm going to say okay, because sometimes we've got to come in hard and fast with, for example, copper. If the reading's minus 150, we've got to work quickly, and we will definitely use our copper vessels and drink our copper water. We will use the almost gold, copper, silver, gold, nickel, cobalt, iridium, palladium, etc. We will bring in the precious metal minerals that way. We will use the quantum device and feed the body with the electromagnetic frequencies, the electrons. It's all about electrons, whichever way you want to look at it. Getting in the sun, I think, is critical to balancing our minerals as well, and bring this level up as quickly as possible. So I just wanted to really, impress upon you the dangers of running out and buying an item only, zinc only. You're going to have a deficiency, on many other levels. It's the same thing as if you were growing your plants. And this is true. This is what happened. There was excess gunpowder and NPK, right? Those minerals made up the byproduct of gunpowder, and they gave these minerals to the plants, and they gave them year after year after year, and those plants then grew in an imbalanced way. So you can't just assume. The better thing for plants would be a volcanic rock dust, a kelp, a spirulina, an almost gold, seawater, as I mentioned before, which are whole products nature made, and always allowing the plant or the human or the animal to take in what they need without force, without any kind of coating, without any kind of tricking the body to take it in. That was really what I wanted to share about this, and also highlight the importance of minerals. And then I think this leads us to the last slide, which is the advert for our event on the 12th of June, 10 o'clock till 4 o'clock, South African time, Greenwich Mean Time plus 1 hour, where myself, Errol Wien, and Imogen Dore will be hosting you and sharing in our Festival of Humanity and Human Evolution, integration of the opposite feminine masculine principles, expansion of life education and knowledge into an interfunctional, authentic, organic, original whole within this Aquarius age. And of course, it's going to be our own inner work, and the body, the mind, the emotion, and the spirit's innate ability to realign us naturally in accordance with nature, the earth, the planets, and where we need to be right now. So we will have a lovely meal as well, bringing in the nutrients and vitamins and things we need. And then the all-day link is available. There's the link. And then those of you who can attend should please come, because it's going to be a great, great seeding event as well. And as Errol's saying, and I know hoping, that we can then run these, I think, on a monthly basis, where we can all develop according to, a newer focus insofar as full sun, moon, astrological alignments are concerned, and get the full meaning out of it in a much newer Aquarian way. So with that, I'm going to end. And, if any of you are looking for the products that I mentioned, especially for the minerals, the Ormus gold, things like iodine, things like the copper water, we've got beautiful copper vessels as well. We have it all on the site, the 365 Healthy by Choice site, and you just have to go there and Google and search, and you will find exactly what I'm speaking about. You take something like a bee pollen, something like a blue-green algae, a reishi mushroom, a medicinal mushroom mixed bottle, and you're going to be getting life force in that bottle, electron spin in that bottle, minerals, vitamins, etc. in that bottle. If you consume medicinal mushrooms, they have a natural ergosterol inside them. And when the sunlight interacts with the ergosterol that you've consumed from the mushroom, you will make your own natural vitamin D. So just to tell you. And we look forward to more and more and more of all of that. And I just want to take this opportunity again to thank you all for coming in and being part of this great Jane Live Miracle Medicine on a Thursday. And we'll be sharing more and more patient highlights, speedy recoveries, people sleeping better, and manifesting better too, because they've got rid of all the terrible toxins that have accumulated in the body, and got the minerals in alignment. Basically, it's about the minerals. That's what I'm going to say, and end off saying it's about the minerals. Okay, thank you for attention, and we'll see you next week. And please diarize the 12th of June and invite your friends. And it's